You will hear a number of different recordings, and you will have to answer questions on what you hear. There will be time for you to read the instructions and questions, and you will have a chance to check your work. All the recordings will be played once only. The test is in 4 sections. Write all your answers in the listening question booklet. At the end of the test, you will be given 10 minutes to transfer your answers to an answer sheet. Now turn to Section 1 on page 2 of your question booklet. Section 1. You will hear a company manager who wants to employ some new staff phoning a recruitment agency. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 4 on page 2. You will see that there is an example that has been done for you. On this occasion only, the conversation relating to this will be played first.
Hello, Morgan Recruitment Agency. How may I help you?
Hello. I need to employ some new staff for my company, and I believe your agency can help with that.
Yes, of course. First, I'll get some details from you. Can I have your name, please?
Sure. My name is Peter Smith.
The manager of the company is called Peter Smith, so Smith has been written in the space. Now we shall begin. You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 4.
Hello, Morgan Recruitment Agency. How may I help you?
Hello. I need to employ some new staff for my company, and I believe your agency can help with that.
Yes, of course. First, I'll get some details from you. Can I have your name, please?
Sure. My name is Peter Smith.
And can I also get a contact number?
Our number here is 047 888 3925.
Thank you. Can I also take down some details about your company? What's your company name?
It's Vander Transport.
Is that V-A-N? That's N for November, D-E-R?
That's right. We are a large trucking company.
The transport industry is really booming, especially for fresh fruit and vegetables, isn't it?
Yes. We have a fleet of refrigerated trucks, though, so we mostly carry frozen goods, fish, vegetables, pizza, all sorts.
I see. So you said that you need some new staff members. When would you need them to start?
We'd like them to start around the 27th of August.
Just looking at my calendar here, the 27th is a Sunday. So do you mean the 28th?
Ah, yes, that's right. We're hoping to hold any interviews around July 29th.
I'll get more details of that later.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 5 to 10 on page 2. Now listen and answer questions 5 to 10.
Okay, now could you tell me about the jobs you have available so we can hopefully find some suitable candidates?
Sure. The first position is an office manager.
So does the job involve typical management duties?
Yes, but they also have to liaise with our main client, which is a large supermarket chain. So a background in a company like that is essential.
Okay, I'll note that down. It sounds like an important role. What are the minimum qualifications? Do they need a university education like a degree?
Yes, candidates would definitely have one.
Okay. Can you tell me about the next position?
We're looking for a full-time mechanic.
So I assume the job will involve doing general repairs on trucks.
Yes, that's right. And one of the other key responsibilities is to produce a written report for each vehicle.
I think we have several people on our books that would be suitable. And will the mechanic be doing much travelling?
Some, yes, but not a great deal. Unlike our next vacancy, that's for a full-time truck driver.
Right. What kind of shifts are they expected to work?
They usually travel around 1,000 kilometres over a 5-day period.
I see.
This job is different to our usual ones, though. It involves moving animals.
That sounds interesting.
Yes. Our company has just got a new contract, so we've bought new trucks and want a driver with that kind of experience.
Great. Is there anything else I should make a note of?
Well, we own all of the trucks, but apart from their driving duties, it is up to all our drivers to clean their vehicle between trips. We do give them extra time for that.
Okay. And are there any other positions available?
Yes, we're looking for a warehouse supervisor.
And what will this involve?
They'll be in charge of our new warehouse. It's located close to the airport. We've recently moved out of the city centre.
Oh, that must be more convenient. And what are some of the requirements for this role?
The successful candidate would be able to work effectively in a busy environment. Sometimes they'll be on call 24 hours for our nighttime deliveries.
So, given the hours they'll be working, I assume it will be necessary for the candidate to have a car?
Yes, that's right. Buses and trains just don't operate at those times, unfortunately.
Okay, Mr. Smith. I'll have a look at the job seekers we have on our books and see if we have any suitable candidates for the positions you have available.
That is the end of Section 1. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to Section 2 on page 3.
Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 14.
Welcome to our holiday special. Today I'll be talking about a new cycle route in this area called the Amsden Way. It's well signposted, so you can see exactly where to go. And it's an easy route with no steep hills. It's 35 kilometers long from Amsden to Lowington and consists partly of cycle paths and partly roads. Let me outline the route briefly, starting at Amsden Railway Station. The first part is a cycle path running eastwards, roughly parallel to the rail track. Almost immediately, the railway curves away and goes around the southern side of a little lake. But the cycle path takes the northern route around the lake. Keep your eyes open for the swans that nest there. The path then joins the road, and the next landmark is a group of massive rocks which tower over the countryside. You will see them to the east of the road just before the road goes under the railway. They are very impressive. Soon, you'll come to a fork in the road where you're going to leave the road and head off toward the river. But if you want to make a detour to Colleen Nature Reserve, go straight on instead of leaving the road here. Continuing along the cycle path, you'll reach the River Cleeve. The cycle path follows the river southwards. After a bit, you'll see the Ashington China Factory, which closed in 1962. When you get there, there's a bridge over the river, and you carry on with Langton Forest to the south and farmland to the north. The route ends at Langton Village, where you'll find a railway station. So, you can either catch the train here or cycle back to Amsden.
Before you hear the rest of the program, You have some time to look at questions 15 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 15 to 20.
One point to remember when you're cycling on the Amsden Way is that you should keep your eyes open for sheep which occasionally stray onto the cycle path from adjoining fields. So be careful to avoid accidents. The path is well constructed, so it's not affected by wet or muddy conditions. There might be the odd car or tractor when you're cycling on roads, but most traffic has been diverted to the main road that bypasses the whole area. Now, a bit more about some of the places you'll see. The starting point, Amsden Station, was quite busy in the early 20th century with services to several major cities. But it was closed in the 1950s. And actually, a small company was set up to turn it into a sort of railway museum, maintaining it in the style of the 1950s. And the station was ready for trains to start using it again earlier this year. It's only used by a few local trains, though. There's a visitor center at the station which has a small exhibition about the history of railway transport all over the world, and a facility for hiring bikes if you don't have one of your own. There's also a small shop just across the road from the station that sells refreshments. As I said, you can cycle to Langton and return to Amsden by train, or the other way around, because you can take your cycle on the train. There's no need to book. There's plenty of room and no extra charge. However, the service is very limited, and the trains between these two places don't run on weekdays. If you want to see the River Elm, there's a footpath from Amsden Station, and you can safely leave your bike in the car park there. Leave yourself plenty of time, though. Going down's easy, but the climb up is very steep. So the walk back up to the top can take quite a while. But it's worth the effort. The scenery is wonderful. And the footpath runs right next to the river, down to a waterfall. Finally, if you'd like to do some more cycling in the area, there are lots of other cycle paths. We'll be talking on the radio about them, and you'll be able to get full details in the Saturday edition of the local paper. The National Cycle Network also has some details on their website, although I have to say they don't have many local ones yet. But that may change. So we'll be telling you more about...
That is the end of Section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers.
Part 3. You will hear part of a discussion between two drama students called Charles and Lorna about a songwriting course. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Hi, Charles. I'm writing my report on the songwriting course for drama students. You know, the 1-week residential course for drama students from different universities where you learn about writing songs. You did that course last year, didn't you? Could you give me some tips for the report? I'm having a few problems with it.
Yes, it was great. Well, Lorna, you could start by thinking about what you got out of it.
Evaluating how useful it was is simple. The challenge is not to go over length.
Referring to published sources might help. That would make it more scholarly too.
OK, I'll go with that.
And saying why you did the songwriting course is important. Some people just do it as another string to their bow to help with auditions for work and things. I thought it was a good opportunity to try out new techniques for communicating feelings and emotions. I was already confident about singing before I did it.
I thought it was the location of the course which made it special, being held in a country house rather than in a university. They were doing some building work on part of the house, though, so it wasn't always easy to concentrate.
I enjoyed the workshop most. How about you?
Well, we were divided into 6 small groups for the afternoon, each with their own advisor. That was the best bit for me, having that discussion with an expert. When we got into pairs to start writing our songs, the idea was to combine people with different levels of knowledge and experience. But my partner preferred working on her own generally.
And what did you think of the course content? I hadn't realised before how important the structure of a song is to its success.
Yes, we learned it's no use writing the most beautiful words and melodies if there's no shape. And we learned about the importance of a chorus in a song.
I knew about that stuff from my singing classes. It's a bit obvious, isn't it?
I suppose so. It was the input on lyrical styles and forms that I found tedious. You could always look them up on the web.
Anyway, how did you get on with writing your song?
It was tough, and Peggy, my partner, was hard work, which wasn't funny, and writing was a slow process as a result of our lack of communication. By the time we finished, I was exhausted.
Writing music from the heart is like that, especially by the end of a course.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
Well, that's got the report sorted, thanks. Have you decided which teachers' workshops you're going to do next term?
I want to do Bob Lacey's. He's got a brilliant reputation for voice coaching. You know, getting us to use dialects and different pronunciation and stuff. He gets you to do things like read out a newspaper article in character. It's amazing.
I'm thinking of going to Evelyn Chance's workshop.
Oh, Evelyn. She's quite a character. Is she running the stage fights course again?
Yes, fencing and pretend punches and throwing techniques. She really knows how to help actors use the whole of the space available.
Lots of people like Ted Winter's workshop.
He knows how to deliver. He's keen on actors conveying emotion through their bodies and faces alone. It's a great way to reveal complex relationships and situations to an audience without making a speech of any kind. I'm definitely going to sign up for that one.
If you want to understand a director's ideas, Kevin Gray's workshop would be perfect for you. He likes telling people what to do, and he's always saying you can't have a company of actors reading a play any way they want because they'd end up fighting amongst themselves. They must listen to the director.
What about Dorothy Thomas? She's good at activities for getting rid of stress and, emptying your mind of all thoughts about the past, and that can really help when acting.
Well, I think I'll put my name down for...
That is the end of part 3. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to part 3.
Now turn to Section 4. Section 4. You will hear a lecturer giving a talk to psychology students about people's sense of smell. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good afternoon. So far in this course on perception, we have focused on sight. Today, we're going to move on to consider a sense that has received rather less attention in the literature on human perception. That is, our sense of smell. It's often said that our ability to sense smells is much less developed than that of animals, such as the dog, or a fish, such as the shark, or, of course, the creature, which is believed to have the most acute sense of smell of all, the bear. Yet it seems that this belief that the human sense of smell is weak might actually be a misconception. According to a number of recent studies, our noses are sensitive instruments that influence us in surprising ways. Subtle smells can change your mood. Smell can even influence what you go for when you have to make choices, perhaps about whether to buy something or not. Yet, the power that smell has over us is, by and large, not something that we are aware of. So the big mystery is why it is subconscious. One possible reason is that our noses aren't well equipped to detect the source of an odor, and so we dismiss it. Let's look at some practical examples of how smell can influence us. The power of smell will be no news to estate agents. They often suggest that people who want to sell a house arrange things so that there is a smell of newly baked bread on the property to encourage viewers to want to buy it. But there are more subtle and surprising effects, too. For instance, Dutch researchers carried out a study into the impact of smell in a nightclub. They discovered, rather to their surprise, that when the aroma of oranges was pumped into the venue, the guests partied harder. They danced more, rated their night as more enjoyable, and even thought the music was better than when there was no added scent. Another study found that the hint of a smell wafting out of a hidden bucket of lemon-scented detergent was enough to persuade students to clean the communal kitchen after using it, even though the vast majority of them hadn't actually registered the smell. Other work has found that scent can influence our cognitive skills. A study this year gave participants a task to test their decision-making abilities. It found that subjecting people to a new smell, either good or bad, let people relying on their emotions to make a decision rather than relying on logic. As a result, these people performed significantly worse than normal when doing the task. Our sense of smell may even help us to pick up on how those around us are feeling. It has been shown that certain animals can smell each other's fear. Is it possible that humans can do the same thing? To test the idea, one team of scientists took sweat samples from people doing a skydive for the first time. They also took sweat samples from the same people after they had worked up their sweat in a gym, a situation where no fear is involved. They presented the different samples in turn to a series of subjects who did not know the reason for the experiment. As they did this, the scientists observed these subjects' brain activity by means of a scanner. and they saw a much stronger reaction to the skydive sweat. The team of scientists next tested whether the smell of fear sweat, that is, the sweat of the skydivers, affected people's responses to various facial expressions. Normally, people pay more attention to angry faces because they pose a threat. However, after smelling the fear sweat, the participants gave the same amount of attention to neutral facial expressions. Despite the impact of smell, most people seem totally unaware of how they are being affected by scents. However, some psychologists have been trying to train people's noses. They persuaded 32 students to wear blindfolds and ear defenders and see whether they could sniff out a trail of chocolate. They found that after 3 days of practice, the students were all much more accurate in following the trail. Further evidence of our ability to train our noses comes from a chef who lost her sense of smell after an illness. Knowing that her job depended on her having a good nose, she trained herself gradually by sniffing spices for 10 minutes a day. Gradually, her ability to smell returned. Now, let's talk on about the...
That is the end of Section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers.